Okay, welcome everybody to a class on money. One of my favourite topics. Everybody needs vocabulary about money because it's such an important topic. I mean, who doesn't live on money? And that starts us with live on and get by on. We all get by on money. We all live on money, and this means survive using money. Yeah, none of us live in the jungle or the forest all on our own. We all live in a society, and so we have to live on we have to live on money. Yeah, we have to use money to get by, and this to get by means to survive. That's all it means. The same with live on, it means to survive. And if you live on the breadline, the idea here is that you have just enough money to survive. You have just enough money to buy your daily bread, yeah, to buy that bread, but you don't have any more. So you are living on the breadline. It's very similar to live on a shoestring budget, where if you're living on a shoestring budget, you're living on very little money. Yeah, you're living on so students usually live on a shoestring budget. They don't get loads of money for what they do. They get very little money, if any money. But that means that they have to live on a very little amount of money, a very small amount of money, not much at all. And so students will often have to scrimp and save. And this just means be careful with your money. If you're scrimping and saving, you are being thrifty. You are being frugal. These are two adjectives that mean someone who is careful with money. And I mean careful in a positive sense, yeah? I would normally consider both those words positive because they mean you're careful with money, and that's a good thing. I mean, who wants to throw their money down the drain? Yeah, that's a bad thing, isn't it? If you're throwing your money down the drain, if you're wasting your money, don't forget that verb with money, waste money on something, waste money on something, just like spend money on something. They're very similar, waste, spend. So remember these two adjectives, thrifty and frugal, they mean that you're careful with money. So you're scrimping and saving, and you're careful not to waste money. You're careful not to throw it down the drain or chuck it down the drain. Another verb for throw is chuck, and we often say chucking your money down the drain. Okay, so do be thrifty, do be frugal. Don't chuck your money down the drain. Scrimp and save. Don't run up huge debts. And if you run up huge debts or run up a huge bill, this phrasal verb, it only collocates with a few words, and it's debts or large bills. So you can run up large fees or huge debts, and it just means that you are accumulating. This really does mean accumulate huge debts. Yeah, the huge debts are building up and building up and piling up and piling up, and you have huge bills to pay. You are running up huge bills. So don't use this phrasal verb with many other nouns, because it doesn't work with many other nouns, but it does work with debts, bills, you know, things like that, costs, expenses. You can run up very large expenses. Okay, now I hope you're not doing that, because that's not a good idea. You'll get into debt, and if you get into debt, you'll have to pay off your debts. And please use this verb for meaning completely pay your debts. Yeah, we all have debts, sadly. I think most people in the UK, if they have a house, then they have a mortgage. Most people, it seems to me. I don't know anyone who doesn't have a mortgage. And so you need to pay off that mortgage. You'll always be borrowing money to buy property in the UK. Now, this one is very useful to make ends meet. If you are able to make ends meet, that means you are able to pay the bills. Just about, yeah? This does not mean you are rich or wealthy. It just means that you are just about able to pay all of your bills, to put food on the table, yeah? And so that we would use the expression to make ends meet, yeah? Sometimes, for example, and I think most of the time nowadays, both people in a relationship, the husband and the wife, or the boyfriend and the girlfriend, they'll both have to work to make ends meet if they want to rent a flat or if they want to have a mortgage. Usually you need both people to be earning a handsome salary. Yeah, and without both people earning a handsome salary, very often you won't be able to make ends meet. So remember this one, it's used all the time, it's very useful. Now these two are very useful. If you splash out on something, it means you spend a load of money on something which you really want, which you're really happy about buying. And that's why this one is positive. It's willingly spend a lot of money. Compare it with fork out on. Same prepositions there. Fork out on is reluctantly pay for something. So we all fork out money on our taxes, yeah? Nobody pays their taxes willingly. Everybody pays their taxes reluctantly. You know, we have to, okay, but nobody, I don't think anybody pays their taxes with a smile on their face. And so you fork out money on your taxes. And yeah, or you fork money out on your taxes. I'd put the something in there actually, because you could fork £50 or £500 out on a new television, yeah, or something like that. And if you're like me, you will definitely do that reluctantly, because £500 for a TV is ridiculous. And anyway, I mean, who wants a TV? But you splash X amount of money out on something, or you fork X amount of money out on something. So do remember that. Do learn how they work, these phrases. Don't just learn them as words on a list like I've got them on this board. Learn all your vocabulary in phrases, in sentences, in the correct collocations. You're making your life easier. So yeah, fork something out on something, splash something, an amount of money out on something. If you fall back on somebody or something, it means you use that somebody or that something as a last resort. You've tried everything else, yeah? You've tried everybody else, you've tried everything else to help you, but in the end you have to fall back on your parents for some money, something like that. Maybe you're a student, you've been trying to scrimp and save, but it hasn't been very successful. Sadly, you've splashed out on a few things, maybe a new car, and so you've got no money left. You are completely broke, skint, penniless. Yeah, these adjectives are good for when you don't have any money. You are broke, skint, penniless, virtually penniless, you can say. It's a good adverb collocation.